that's a super easy way to tell that you're
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the March 25th Neureal Community Livestream. I'm Kyler Anderson, the Community Manager for the Neureal Project, and I'm joined here by Will in the Neureal offices. We've also got another couple of people here. Will, why don't you introduce yourself first?
I'm Will Bound, one of the founders of Neureal.
Fantastic. Go ahead, Ethan.
Cool. I'm Ethan. More and more stuffy by the day.
Catching up to me.
It's a I'm not going to call it a comfortable disposition, but it's different. I'll say that much for sure.
All right. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Oh yeah, go ahead, Ethan.
And also, before Preston goes, I suppose I should say I'm a casual advisor to the Neureal project, a project that is near and dear to my heart. And since I'm not wearing a Neureal t-shirt, I guess I'll just take credit for the Bahamas while I'm here, for some reason.
You take what you can get, right? Go ahead, Preston.
I'm Preston. I'm the Assistant Community Manager. I don't have a Neureal t-shirt yet, but hopefully I can get one soon. I do have the beard, though. So hopefully I've got that covered.
Good deal, buddy.
Wait, hold on. Assistant community manager or assistant to the community manager? Watchers
I don't know.
The
I don't know.
Yeah, that was such a nerd reference. Anyway, okay. Sorry, Kyle. Go ahead.
It's okay. We like to keep them guessing. It's okay. All right, everybody. Today's live stream is just going to make up for yesterday's live stream, which ended up being kind of a crap fest because of my choice of internet connections. So instead, we are here in the really broad, nicely connected Neureal office. Let's see. We've got a couple of points of business to go through that we were trying to mention yesterday that we never really got the time to. And the first would be that we've actually got a small allocation of 3 million tokens, which is they're not NECP tokens. NECP tokens were 1 to 400 of the final tokens, but these are 1 to 1. They're being priced at 7 cents a piece. They're being offered in a private sale. This is essentially just a forwarding of part of the foundation's funds. That is it 1% of the foundation's funds?
No.
Okay. Less than 1% of the foundation's funds that's being forwarded now.
Yeah, it's 1% of the foundation's total funds. Yeah.
Yeah, it's being forwarded now to make up for some of the shortfalls in Ethereum to make sure that we have all the resources we need to get through to the final token generation event. If you're interested in purchasing those, we are going to have you need to go through the official KYC process, which is going to be available shortly. Stick around, watch the announcement channel for that to happen. I know that I've already had a couple of community members ask what they can do. But I'll tell you what, guys, right now, before we even get started, please, 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 if you're watching this, take a moment and go ahead and share this live stream out to the different various groups that might be interested in it. We would very much like to get some good participation today because we've got a lot of exciting things going on. But I'll tell you what, there's one thing that I'd like to start with. Ethan has actually been playing around with some ML in some pretty interesting ways. And I thought it would be interesting because Ethan and I were having a conversation earlier about how the current ML program that he's using, Quant, actually ties into Neureal and how Neureal could be used in conjunction with it. And so I thought it might be interesting
program I'm using.
Ethan to explain a little bit of what he's doing, and then Will to kind of give, because it answers, honestly, it answers a lot of where people get confused. And so it's kind of a perfect example of what we can do. So with that, take it away, Ethan.
Well, I'm not sure where to take it away, but thanks for telling everybody what I use for ML. Something that's always intrigued me and, of course, continues to intrigue me and seems overtly relevant now has always been machine learning as applied to creating strategies for trading in highly technical markets that have so much volume in them that essentially it's just there's a lot of what you could call theoretically random signals to create patterns from, to look at and decide, how could a machine learn from this and trade into the future? Look at historical data and take current data and apply it all to what's going to happen next, right? So making predictions is kind of the name of the game there. So machine learning is used in that context, typically entirely with historical data. So it's just all of it's historical data, and that's what you look at. And then you get machine learning programs to create algorithms for you that then crunch that data, apply trading methods to the historical data to hopefully, something will work in the future. And kind of got me thinking, there's not much computing power available for that. I mean, I can use my laptop, and right now it actually took me a few minutes to connect here just because my computer is desperately trying to deal with everything I'm throwing at it, which is machine learning, downloading historical data from different sources, which it takes so much disk write space on this. Gosh, I think this thing's like 8 years old, 6 years old now. So yeah, resource intensive. And gosh, wouldn't it be nice if we just had some kind of a thing where maybe I had my historical data and live streaming data, and we could go to some sort of, I don't know, theoretical network of some sort. So maybe somebody has an idea about this. But yeah, it's essentially looking at what I'm doing, playing around with right now, machine learning, and gosh, the neural network is coming around. And that could have some very strong implications for how that's actually applied. And I think a lot of people think of machine learning and trading as like, oh, that just is some weird esoteric thing. It's actually very common. Machine learning is used by, well, I'll tell you, the person who actually told me about the program that I'm using, he works for a hedge fund, and he tells me, oh yeah, I have like on my own computer, like 90 program running. I don't even know. And this, and I don't know what his hedge fund or I think it's a hedge fund. It's some investment firm anyway. I don't know what they do in terms of their algorithmic trading, but like I said, it's everywhere. I think that's all I have for now. So you want to pick up on that?
Yeah, no, and really, so earlier when you shared it, like the specific thing that we were talking about is you're like, hey, it would be great to be able to rent out and share rent out that computer space to run my algorithms. And
Oh yeah.
that was and I know that you and I have already talked through it, but that was the disconnect that I was hoping Will might be able to approach.
Yeah.
How Neureal differs and how Neureal actually would tie into one of those machine learning, like how in actuality Neureal would tie into those machine learning algorithms.
Let's put it this way, right? So, and Will can pick it up from here, but let's put it this way. If we think of blockchain programs that do in fact rent out compute, right? So, what are some of the ones that you've mentioned to me? Like
Golem.
Golem is a good one, right? So Golem. So basically, those organizations that essentially say we have computing power, use it. Neureal operates differently from that, and as far as I understand. So Will should probably expound on the differences between that and how that's between things like that and Neureal and how it actually ties together, because Neureal uses that, right? That's a competing sort of predictor on the platform, but it's not the same thing as as for an example, let's say I wanted to take my poor little laptop right now and relieve it of its intensive duties, right? If I wanted to go rent out machine learning compute power right now, I really couldn't do it. There are waiting lists if you can even pay for it. It's just not something that can happen. But the neural network kind of makes something similar to that sort of possible, but it's not the same thing. Like Golem is renting out compute power, but the neural network for somebody like me would essentially be like, I don't even have to come up with algorithms, right? Like, so yeah, how would you pick up from that, Will?
So when you went to set that up, you're using a program. What was the name? Quant?
It's Strategy Quant, right? It's one of there are commercial programs out there that just engage in machine learning for you and create algorithms to trade. Yeah.
So and it's you bought it on. It's not an open source or anything like that. You had to pay for it or whatever.
You got a free version, but it's got an upgrade pay version.
Okay,
yeah, no. So you've and it's not the only one like it. There are other programs like this, but yeah, it's all closed source. None of it is available for the open market to dig in and look at.
Yeah, so I'm pretty familiar with all that. I ran my first one back in 2003. My first machine learning algorithm on stock price data. So I was doing it back then, but one of the ones that is really most popular one is MetaTrader. So that's they do more than just the machine learning. It's one of the popular platforms. There are actually a bunch of open source ones out there as well. So we were looking into it as Neureal here to use just for our management, or help us manage our money personally. But anyway, so those programs, like when you download them and run them, they're kind of doing all the work on the back end as far as you don't have to be a data scientist, right? Like you're not a data scientist, are you, Ethan?
I mean,
are you hiding something from us?
I can look at data and I can discern that it is data, and that's how high on the level of data scientist that puts me. But I would assume pretty low.
Yeah. So
I am a forex trader in terms of if we're going to apply data to markets. I trade forex, so I can look at patterns and I can trade manually. I can do that kind of thing. And I'm focused on risk management. But that's why machine learning and my not being a data scientist and programs that can do machine learning for me are so valuable, is because I can apply certain skills to that. But I'm definitely not somebody who can do that on my own.
Yeah. So you're an accomplished, traders do that all the time. So traders are out there, they're trying to predict, they're coming up with strategies in their own heads. They're doing all this stuff. That's what you're doing. So you end up utilizing these programs that have these kind of pre-packaged AI solutions inside of them, and you just set some parameters or include that in your, you get the output from it, and you include that in your strategy, and then you go ahead and you may come up with a meta strategy that uses that that output, that prediction, or whatever it's doing, whatever it decides to do. So if you break down the process of what's available using the machine learning in that space. Most of the time, people are doing two things together. They're doing both. The machine learning itself does prediction and strategy at the same time. And so what it'll do, it doesn't explicitly do prediction. I don't think. I don't know if I've seen any that kind of split it up into the two parts. There may be something out there that does that, like maybe one process. And I'm speaking as more like a data scientist here, so bear with me. So the way you'd see it in the program is you would see like one option that gave you indicator, or gave you like the prediction of the future of it, right? This is what I think is going to be the price in, tomorrow or the next day or whatever. But then there could be another part that says, okay, this is how you should trade based upon that. And so there may or may not be those particular functions separated. I think a lot of them just do the one where they just say, okay, here's the trade signals. In other words, usually they do this thing where like it's a like buy here or sell here, right? And so that combines both of the prediction and the strategy at the same time. So to really understand what Neureal is doing, Neureal, and it's a misconception, I think. And I just went through some stuff with Kyler here, and Kyler still wasn't getting it until we went through this process here. And a lot of times, the thing is that, especially as a trader or whatever, you as a human being are constantly predicting the future. Like that is something intrinsic to our nature as human beings. We predict the future. We're natural born predictors. I mean, that's what we do. And I think a lot of times, we understand the things that go involved in that. Like we think about like, oh, well, this happened before and this happened again. And so we tend to think of systems that predict in the same way that we predict ourselves. And so that's the kind of the way that we relate to those systems. And so it took me a minute to get Kyler to realize that Neureal is actually very simple compared to that. It's really the key thing. The most of the misconceptions about it come from people tending to complicate the situation because of it's natural for them to do that when they're thinking of something that predicts. And so, like I personally don't know the best way to do it other than going through that process like that we just went through. So me and Kyler just went through this process. Maybe you can maybe just kind of mention that.
Sure, absolutely.
Process and from your point of view, because
no, absolutely. So essentially, the deal is that we combine all kinds of different things in order to make our predictions. But like for instance, if we're trying to predict BTC to USD price pairing, right? What is the actual thing that Neureal is looking at? What's the actual data feed? It's integers. It's just little data points that are literally at this point. Bitcoin was worth this many US dollars, okay? And then at this point it was worth this many this time period later, right? And then what it does is that it has a now, and then it just extrapolates that farther into the future, right? It's fairly simplistic in what we are doing, but I believe the beauty of it, and maybe I'm going a little bit too far from what I'm trying to do here. Like that output is just in integers. Like that's what it does, right? And it's a continuous stream of integers going out, right? Am I losing you, Ethan? Can I get a nod or a shake or a no? Okay, cool.
You're not losing.
It's just a continuous stream of integers coming out of it, and that is the output, right? But you can actually, this is me kind of saying what makes it beautiful is that you can take many of those and combine them together in order to make more accurate and better in the long run. But yeah, Neureal doesn't have the decision-making side. It can't make decisions for you at all. All it can do is just export that data stream. And then you would have to use a machine learning algorithm which uses that future data stream in order to make decisions on what it's going to do. Did I nail that?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. But I mean, it's okay. But, it's the same type of thing. I think the confusion people get is is that it's not the whole package. Like, it's just a data source. So Neureal provides a data source that is the future. It's the future of a data source. It is the future of the data source. So if you have the price, the USD to Bitcoin price, it's going like this, and this is the current time. Neureal provides the data of that going into the future, and that's all it does. So if you get that, like, let's say your MetaTrader or your quant thing, if it had, it's the part that predicts the future, not the part that does the trading strategy. So those are the two separate parts. So it will tell you the curve into the future, but it doesn't tell you what to do with that. Like,
right.
What do you do that for? What do you do with that? It doesn't say that. It doesn't include that. It's just the data. Like, it's just a data stream. And you still have to write some sort of a program that does the strategy and tells you when to buy and sell. It will not tell you when to buy and sell. It will give you information that you can use. It won't give you suggestions. It'll give you information that you can use to make your own strategy as a trader. Like, you could just look at, like, one of the things we're doing with Neureal is one of the consumer parts. There's two consumers of the thing. You can either, one, just look at the data itself as a human being, look at a graph. Like, this is the price into the future, and it'll show you that. Like, this is what Neureal thinks the price is going to do into the future, right? And you can take that as a trader and make your own decisions and your own strategies based upon that. Or you can write a machine learning bot that looks at that and comes up with its own strategies to trade based on that.
Which is what you're doing with your historical data right now. You're downloading 10 years of historical data, and then you're allowing it to train on that. With this, you could train it on future data as well.
Right, and that's why we had that talk about, and obviously nobody else was here for that, but that's why we had that talk about how we'd have to write either a bridge, so a program could read that and go to MT4, MetaTrader 4, right, or whatever program is being used, NinjaTrader, TradeStation, or all those sorts of things, right?
Yeah.
So you'd actually have to have a bridge that can do that. So no, we totally get that, and that's something that it is an important distinction. But it's I think that's kind of I think that's kind of what Kyler meant when he said that's the beautiful thing is that you can kind of make this to make more predictions, is because just as you said, right, you can look at that future data and you can either just trade that data as a trader, or you can take that data and start to create a strategy and try to trade it almost like you would the historical data. Instead of looking backwards, now you're looking forwards. And when the advantage we have when we look backwards is we have all of the information that's there. What Neureal seems to be trying to do, if correct me if I'm wrong, is create that same sort of vision, maybe slightly blurred, into the future, right?
Exactly. That's exactly it. That sentence right there is the thing. Yep. It's the vision. It's the view into the future.
Right. It's like you looking forward without your glasses. No, I'm just kidding. Hopefully, in fact, that we can get more and more accurate, and that's kind of the idea of having predictors competing, predictors providing predictions on a network, is that, you can get more competition and hopefully get the most accuracy possible. So, I totally get that. And it's something that, as a trader, I definitely look very much forward to.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's a really good way to describe that. The thing we were talking about, one of the other people that Tyler talked to.
Yeah, Susan O from MKRAI. She's actually building something really interesting now. She's trying to build an AI this is the decision making side of AI that can detect purposeful falsehoods in news reporting. Right?
Yeah, I remember her. She was the one that I looked at and said, "Hey, nice sleeves," because she had this great tattoo. Fantastic woman.
So good. Yeah, no, she's incredibly smart too. She came from the journalism field and then transitioned over to machine learning over a decade ago, and is trying to figure out how to combine the two. And what was interesting is I was trying to figure out how we could help her, and at first it's not very obvious, but Will explained it pretty well. I mean, I can do it if you want.
Yeah.
Will did a pretty good job of it, and that is that like so what would be the data? Like for instance, if we're doing BTC to USD, right? The data is pretty obvious because it's just integers, right? So like what sort of data would you feed it in order to try and do news stories? Because it couldn't do anything to predict the credibility of these people. What it could do though is you could feed an RSS feed into it, and then combining other data, be able to predict when a false news story was about to come out, and then be able to preemptively say, this person's about to release a news story, the likelihood of it being true is this much.
Yeah, you just combined our whole process down into 2, 3, 4 words, which I don't think really gets the point across. So like we have to go through that kind of process, I think, for them to get there. Because you're just saying this is what it is.
No.
But people are like, they're going to be like, okay. So the question is what if you're you mentioned an RSS feed. I said, what is news? What is news from the viewpoint of data? Like what literally is news? And you said an RSS feed as an example. So what is an RSS feed? And you said,
well, it's essentially just a bunch of bits. It's hyperlinks essentially to news stories that are going to be published that are fed out in a continuous stream.
Yeah. So an RSS feed is links. So they're HTTP : and an address, .com/ something, right, or whatever, or they're RTSP or some other sort of link, and that's the actual data that an RSS feed is. So it's a live feed, and RSS feeds are live. So as these news stories happen, right, they get sent out. So as the news story happens, the link to the news story gets sent out on this RSS feed. Okay, so you can send that to Neureal. So you could send an RSS feed to the Neureal network, and the data stream would be these links. Okay, so the question is, with that in place, what do you get back from Neureal? So Ethan, what do you think?
That's a really good question. I'm having trouble following along because I understand what you're trying to explain, that an RSS feed is essentially, from what I understand, it's data. From the point of view of a data scientist, you're able to isolate some of that, but I'm not sure how. I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to get at.
To isolate it? So see, that's where the confusion goes. So what you do is so the RSS feed, okay, is a live data stream, just like the price of Bitcoin to USD. So the price of Bitcoin to USD is a live data stream. That means that the price is made every, like, let's say it's every second or whatever. So new data is produced every second. It's the new price, right? So that's a bunch of integers. So that's the stream, okay? So you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, so an RSS feed is links. It's the same thing, but instead of a price, it's a link. So you get this feed of links that come one after the other. Link. Okay?
Right.
So that's a data stream, and it's a data stream of links of HTTP : / an address to a location. That's what an RSS feed is, and it's a live data stream. So if you send that to the Neureal network, what is the Neureal network going to give you back?
If you send that data to the Neureal network, I'm not sure at this point, what would the Neureal network send you back? Because I know what you're saying, they're all links, but I'm still conceptualizing this as those are all links that exist in text format. They go to something, right? So
They go to the Neureal network. Oh, you mean the link? Yeah.
So when those arrive at the neural network, I could see how all of these points of data are distinguishable from one another. Absolutely, I get that.
Okay.
But I don't get how the network would then use them to predict the next link being fake news or real news.
Wait, what's that?
See, that's the higher end thing. That's what Susan O is building, and that's the one that would actually make decisions. What would Neureal itself spit out? Keeping in mind what we learned about the USD PTC price.
Is it just integers again?
You You just get links. You get a stream of links. It would predict a stream of links.
Oh, so in that case, it would just be predicting. Almost most of it would be what, junk-like links. Like it would be looking at, or if you went to like the raw sort of output, it would be something decipherable and surrounded by a lot of junk. Would that be about right?
Is that what happens in the Bitcoin price, with the Bitcoin price?
No, not really. So yeah, I guess I understand what you're saying. So it would be, you would see, if you had a hyperlink, if you had a link formatted like something like gotohere.com, it might be, the next prediction might be, you tell me if I've got this right, gotohere.com, gotothere.com, gotohere4.com, gotothere, like speedy.com, gotoherefast.com. Like, is that kind of right?
Well, kind of. I mean, except for that an RSS feed is usually fed out of a single website. It's usually tied to their domain, right? And so what you get is just essentially a prediction of new links that it predicts are going to come out of it based off of historical link data that is fed to it, or not historical link data, based off the live streaming RSS feed and what's come before, right?
Okay, so I think I was close. But that makes more sense. So I guess what I'm having trouble with at this point is how that would be useful.
Well, that would be up to the actual decision maker side.
Right.
And essentially, for Susan, that's going to be her own deal to make. But essentially, what it would be doing, it's not quite reputation. Do we kind of decide that it is reputation? No.
See. So the important thing here is that you can't go backwards. You can't go with the Neureal network. You don't start out with a purpose and go backwards. Like, you need to, like, if the Neureal network may or may not help another system with its purpose. Does that make sense? So, like, if her purpose is to find the human
Purposeful, yeah.
Understand, what did I write down? Understand.
Oh, human.
Purposeful.
Purposeful
to detect.
Purposeful
Be able to
deceit.
detect it.
Yeah.
So her purpose is to detect purposeful deceit in news stories. Okay. Neureal is not going to be able to help her with that, unless this is the only thing that it could do. Okay? If it can predict with a news feed, a RSS feed, what the next story is actually going to be, then if she can detect in that story that it's false, that's going to be false, right? Then you can throw out the story before it's even written.
Throw out a counter to the story as a preemptive strike.
That's pretty cool. All right.
Yeah.
No, I understand that. So essentially, Will, are you trying to explain here that we have to understand the limitations of Neureal's predictive outputs? Essentially, that they don't come as full-featured packages. Because, I mean, like, back to the trading thing, right? Neureal is not predicting how to trade. Neureal is providing information that we can use to trade.
Right.
There's a significant difference between those things.
Yes.
Right.
And so the RSS feed is an example. Your comment of, like, how is that helpful? Right? That is the important part right there.
Yeah, no, okay, that's fine. And I guess I don't want to downplay the Neureal network, because I just said, that the data is basic. I think that I should probably qualify that by saying that the data is basic but immensely valuable. There are lots of other very, very basic types of data that are really valuable, like how many people live in a city. That's a very basic number. The number is not exciting. The data very much is, right? So yeah, this is great. I love it.
Well, so in the case of the RSS, one really cool part of that, in the case of the RSS feed, if so the RSS feed is just a link to the article, right? So if you also have another feed that's the actual articles, Neureal is going to try to predict what the next article is going to be, like the actual article. right?
Oh,
So let's say it's successful and accurate at that. What does that mean? That means that it can tell what the art writers of that blog are going to write. So it knows them well enough that it can write for them.
And given enough live streaming data points, it could do that.
So if it can accurately predict what they're going to write, what they can do as the writers, they can say, oh, this thing wrote most of this. Now I can take that and I can make it even better.
Wow.
It learns, it understands me well enough that I don't actually have to write anymore. I don't have to do the grunt work of writing. It writes it for me. Oh yeah, that's a great article. That's what I was thinking about 2 minutes ago. It just wrote the article for me. I started thinking about it and it wrote the article.
It was there. Yeah.
And there it was. But now there's a little bit different. It's fuzzy, like you said. It's
right.
fuzzy. It's not exactly what I was thinking. So I can go in, modify it, and a lot of my work is done.
And then conversely, kind of funnily, when you do go in and do that, it gets more accurate because then it sees what that was and then uses that in order to better predict the future.
That's right. So pretty soon it's writing articles that are pissing you off.
That's an interesting thought, but it's also an interesting thought in that, I mean, to me, that almost seems like the first step towards, brain-to-brain interface, where you've just got.
Totally. That's why I made this project.
Yeah. Oh, right. Well, it's just that notion that then you can essentially just have your. Oh gosh, that would be our universal translator as well, right?
Did the top just come off your head?
Oh, it always comes off my head when I'm looking at Neureal. It's a very, very interesting sort of idea that you could. So, despite the fact that the data is so, again, in a very qualified fashion, I would use the word limited. Despite that fact, there's so much that can be done with it. This is an incredible sort of thing. I think there's something we left out of the conversation though, and that is, we talk about Neureal writing articles for bloggers and predicting the prices for just me, hopefully. So when we do all of that, again, I'll refer back to my laptop that's struggling right now, doing something fairly simplistic. It's essentially a million monkeys writing Shakespeare for me, except trading programs. So when you have that computing power doing that one simple thing, I can only imagine how difficult this would be to write a blog post for my little laptop. So the computing power that's going to be required for a lot of the things that Neureal will do, or at least a lot of the things that Neureal will provide data for, that seems to be the big challenge. So, Will, I think it would be awfully beneficial if you could clarify a little bit how miners, or rather...
Predictors?
Yes. How that computing power relates to the Neureal network for making those predictions. Because like I said before, for making the backwards predictions, even that, I can't find that computing power. Exceedingly wealthy people can't find that computing power, right? So expand on that a bit if you could. I think that would be very valuable.
Yeah, I mean, really, there's an untapped resource out there not untapped. It's definitely tapped. It used to be untapped. Let me make that qualification. When we started this project, it was definitely not tapped. And that is all the gamers, all the people that own GPUs. All this stuff is happening in GPUs, in NVIDIA gaming, high-end gaming GPUs. It's the most efficient way to do machine learning that there is. And so NVIDIA and AMD compete, and they produce these highly engineered chips that are amazingly powerful. And so, like you personally, I don't know what you have on your laptop, but you may have a gaming laptop. I don't know. Do you have a gaming laptop? What kind?
It's an Alienware M17X.
Oh,
I just
sweet.
don't know what year.
Is it a 1080 then in it, or a 1070? Probably a 1080 Ti.
I think it's an R.
It's an R or something? An AMD? You guys don't know. Anyway.
He's also trying to talk when he's muted too.
Oh. Yeah, you muted that.
Sorry. I was going to say it's been forever since I've actually looked at the system's configuration, so I can't specifically remember what graphic card is in this. I know it's an NVIDIA. I can't remember what model, so you're going to have to just kind of take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm sure it's if it's a gaming Alienware, it's probably a 1080 or 1070 or something. They don't. I don't think they.
Well,
like
it is also like 6 years old. I just have to.
It is.
Yeah,
that probably isn't that.
Yeah, I do want to find out here, though. I'm just looking and poking right now. You keep going.
I just wanted to point out something real quick. We got some chat from Ed. Ed wanted to point out that, as a for instance, when it was trying to predict, if we're trying to predict those RSS feeds and we're trying to predict what news story is going to be published next, Ed was mentioning that a separate live data stream could be used in order to predict this, to help that prediction gain more accuracy. And a for instance would be monitoring Twitter hashtags. Right?
Yeah, you're talking about as a predictor, like how would you compete on the network to provide better predictions?
Yep, and I just wanted to throw that out because Ed was in our chat and talking about it. Absolutely correct, Ed. That is definitely definitely applicable to what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Also, I know everybody wants one of these shirts. I know it, and that's why I'm holding it above your heads for just a couple more days, and then I'm going to release a site where y'all can go and order them. Slightly different, though, because we switched this logo up slightly. But yeah.
Sweet.
Watch the announcement channel for that, and then you can go get your own Neureal shirt.
I love my Neureal shirt, and I like holding it above people that I have one. I'm so sorry, guys. My computer is seriously running so slowly.
Running flat out, I know.
The poor thing.
So there's I don't know if you guys have been following it, but there's a huge, there's been a huge, what is it called? The supply and demand of video cards. Like the cryptocurrency itself has caused there's a
supply drop.
Yeah, it doubled the price of the hardware just because of the demand. So that's very unique in electronics. And I mean, imagine a TV, right? That like you go down to 1 week, you go down to Best Buy, and the TV's $500. The next month, you go down to Best Buy, and that same exact TV, not an upgraded version, not the higher level, but the exact same TV is now $1,000.
Yeah, good example. I just built a new tower to be able to do VR, and my old tower I built 4 years ago. It was top of the line 4 years ago, and I paid $800 for the components. I just got onto the website that lets you pick and choose and figure out how to sell your old computer and what's fair to price it at. My $800 computer 4 years ago is now worth $1,200.
Yeah, how did that happen? It's because of the demand. So cryptocurrency did this. Cryptocurrency did this. Caused a demand for the compute hardware that outpaced the ability to supply it and doubled the price of everything. So that just happened. So what I'm saying is that there's a ton of people out there who are buying up these video cards, and they're using them for Bitcoin mining. Okay, so not Bitcoin, Ether mining. So they're using it for Ether mining. They're using it for Monero mining. They're using it for all these different cryptocurrencies. So they're going and buying all these up and building their things. It's what happened from the beginning. I did it forever. I bought 4 machines.
Actually, the second time this has happened too. I don't know if you remember the first time right before ASICs came out, the same thing happened. It was
that's right.
Really annoying because that's when I built my last computer.
So you remember. So what I'm saying is that places where you want to go get compute from like Amazon Cloud, or most people do it there, the EC2 clusters and all that. They're competing now with all of the crypto miners for these cards. So they're in the exact same boat. So let's say that Amazon needs to buy a whole bunch of GPUs to put in their data centers to be able to support the machine learning algorithms that you're talking about trying to run. That you're saying I need to buy this compute. Now we can go buy it from Amazon and pay their premium. But guess what? Now they're competing. They are competing with the rest of the world in the cryptocurrency for these hardware.
That's
right.
So
they're paying double. So now their price goes up double.
That's right, Shadow. You got it exactly. Okay. So Shadow says, if you have these guys out there with NVIDIA mining rigs, can they convert the same rig to be a predictor?
Yes. Yes. And guess what? They can make way more money.
Way more money
than mining for Ether.
And
more money.
Not only that, but a really exciting thing to remember is the timing here, right? Within the next little while, many of these coins are going to be switching away from the really heavy proof of work algorithms to blended proof of stake, proof of work algorithms that are going to take a lot less compute power, right?
Mm-hmm.
So very good timing when you're seeing this huge demand that causes people to buy really expensive hardware and they've got a lot of investment in it, and then all of a sudden the amount they're able to eke out of that investment comes right back down.
Then what are they going to do?
It's true, because for the savvy miner sort of tries to calculate their return and then also their potential capital after they liquidate a used video card, how much they can get back from that. It all factors into what their total profit will be. But if you can tell them, hey, by the way, not only can you switch over here when GPUs start, you can't use them with Ether anymore, you can switch over here to this predictive network, but also you may be interested in the fact that people all over the world are desperately looking for this compute power, and they will pay for it. That's something, I think that's also probably an important thing to mention here, is that this feeds into how the Neureal network actually presents value to the world, is that yes, this computing power earnestly is in demand. And like Will pointed out, all of this was previously kind of untapped, and cryptocurrency came along and tapped it all, which has really just pissed off gamers. But it's also
folding. We shouldn't leave out MIT's folding at home, because it didn't drive demand, but it was an example of what people were using this spare compute power to do in the past. So it wasn't exactly untapped. It's just, there wasn't an incentivization model there, so only very few people did it out of the goodness of their heart.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine folded at home incentivized. Who wouldn't run folded at home?
That's CureCoin. That exists. It's called CureCoin.
Yeah. No, that's good.
I'm mining it right now on this computer.
Right there next. The computer that is currently streaming to you is curing cancer right now.
The two 1080 Ti's.
Good, because the affinity I've developed for the affinity I've developed for cigars, I'll need your help, Will.
Cigars.
Yeah, he smokes cigars. He said he needs your help to cure lung cancer.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. Not lung cancer. It'll be some throat, neck, nose thing, I'm sure. But yeah. Anyway, sorry.
No problem.
Well, no, that's important. That's why I do it. I could be mining Ether here, making more money, but I don't, because I believe I want to contribute back.
And I've got a sticker on my new rig that says, "This machine cures cancer while I sleep."
That's very cool. And it's also really cool that you guys do that. However, it's really important to understand the incentivization model in a much broader sense. It's great that you guys are mining CureCoin, but in the marketplace, the incentivization model for CureCoin isn't necessarily what I would call top rate. The incentivization model for predictive compute power is absolutely top rate. If people knew how thirsty people were for that and how useful it is, I think, it's one of the reasons that I'm very excited for Neureal, being a diehard capitalist, but also the fact that this is predictive computing power that, things are very valuable when they solve important problems. And Neureal can solve very important problems.
Let's talk about what we were just talking about there. I love using CureCoin as an example of this, okay? Because there is a slightly live stream, that detects what proteins were folded that were actually useful to the research that was trying to be done, right? And so using a live stream like that, Neureal could actually predict which future protein projects should be investigated first, because they have the highest chance of actually paying off, meaning that we use all of that compute power much more
efficiently.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's extremely important.
And And I know those guys really well. In fact, one of our advisors, Jake, is one of their main people. He's one of the biggest owners of CureCoin. He's been involved with them. So
pretty sure Jake's out there right now. Hi, Jake.
Hi, Jake. We're talking about your CureCoin. So they've been around, and so one of the important things as well is that even though they're kind of centralized-ish, so that's what they're doing, but they're working on some new stuff. But one of the important things, though, that's important about that and the incentive model, when you do add the money to it, right, and you add that ability for people who have some money who want to contribute to be able to buy the token, and then that automatically gets distributed out to the people who the value gets distributed out to the people who are doing the mining, is that they have consistently outranked every other provider of that in the world. CureCoin has. So we pulled up the so one thing about Neureal that's important after reading about the Netflix competition and realizing that the people that won were like a collective of people. It was awesome. Anyway, the whole ecosystem of like leaderboards and like people competing for like the top spot and like we're gonna get, so CureCoin has that. Let me pull up, what was that link?
Oh, I don't remember.
Anyway, they just for the last month, like they did like 15 times the next highest ranked group, which was EVGA.
Wow.
Who creates the GPUs. They make GPUs, and CureCoin outcompeted them by 15 times or something like that.
Yeah, it was a ridiculous number, and it's been that way for a long time.
Well, in fact, CureCoin does the bulk of all of the folding. Even if you add it all up for all of history, I think Jake said it was like, this was like two years ago or something. He said it was like 3 times the amount. So it's probably more like 8 or 10 times the amount of the actual compute over the period of everyone else. Everyone.
So Ed wants to know something, and this is something that I have a question for you about this, boss. Ed wants to know how soon he can take the 1080 Ti's that he currently has right now. He's got a whole farm. I think it's over 25.
Wow.
And he wants to know when he can flop that over and start mining Neureal. And my question has been, is there any incentive for people to mine on our testnet when it goes live? The testnet itself. Are they going to be incentivized to do that? Or is it once the actual full release happens, that's when they start getting incentivized to mine?
No. We are definitely, our plan is to, for our MVPs, is to have that running for people to use. I mean, if it's just the output, like even though it's not the released version, that is the public version. So when we release the blockchain and we do the release, the final milestone, what that means is that we're confident enough that this blockchain is going to handle us to take our hands off. Basically, that it's going to be able to handle being a public blockchain by itself, right? So we're done with the code. We're like, okay, we're going to put all the owners, into the Genesis block, and then we walk away. I mean, we don't walk away, but we're like, okay.
But we could.
The baby's out into the world.
We could all die in a plane crash and nothing would matter.
Right, because now it's public.
Yeah.
So that's all that means. So what the releases are, not the releases, the MVPs, the milestones of the MVPs, what those mean is they are functioning. MVP means minimum viable product. That means it's a functioning, like we need a functioning system that functions, okay? So it may not be public, but with people like Ed, who are willing to gloss over the imperfections, right? And the potential security risks and all the things involved in that, but that are willing to do that, we will get output from it. We will get a test and trial. We'll know, this is predicting this. This is predicting, the price, the crypto prices, or this is predicting the hurricanes. I mean, we will have output from that.
So does that answer your question, Ed? That's when you can start being. That's when you can start mining Neureal, is when we're ready to release the first MVP, which currently we're on. That's on track for. I'm trying to remember our.
But there won't be real dollars involved unless we give out token or something as the foundation. So we may have bounties for people who do predict, and we can give them the actual Neureal token. That sounds like a great way to get people involved. So that's that's something we'll definitely look at. And so basically, how that would work is you have 25 GPUs, you put it on, and we all compete, and there's a prize. We actually do what the thing's going to be, right? And we say, here's the data stream. We become the oracle, and the prize is that at the end is that we count up the testnet Neureal, right, that you've won, but then we take that and give you actual
Neureal when the actual Genesis block happens.
Does that make sense?
You got that, Ed? I'm sure he's got it. Ed's a sharp cat. By the way, Ethan, Ed wanted you to know that he thinks you're fantastic at making metaphors and mixing metaphors.
Cool. I can metaphor like a metaphorical metaphorizer. What I did there?
Yeah, I did. Hey, guys, we've only got a few minutes left, so this has been a really fantastic discussion. This is probably one of my favorite things that we've done so far as live streams go. I'm really glad we decided to take a second day. I have a couple of announcements that I need to make and just a couple of community items that we want to do. First of all, if you're near the Salt Lake Valley and you'd like to come out and meet the team and have a good time and maybe have a couple beers with us, we're going to be meeting at Shades Brewery on Tuesday, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. We've got an event that's pegged to the Facebook, and then also we'll just launch the meetup event. So if you're part of the Utah meetup community, come on down. This place is really fantastic. I just want to say real quick, they're somewhat like us in their story, somewhat, right? They got together a little while ago as a couple of microbiologists and an astrophysicist who liked good beer and wanted to had a better way to do it. And then they spent 8 years just perfecting the whole thing without worrying about marketing or getting anybody else involved. They just purely wanted to perfect it and make it as good as it could possibly be. And now they're kind of in the same boat we are. They have a fantastic product and nobody knows about them. So kindred spirits in a way. We'd love to see you guys all out there. Another couple of things. We're about to launch our video contest, guys. I am working up the final version of the video. I got a bunch of shots when I was out in Puerto Rico that were really good, and all I have to do now is take some shots here at the office and then edit the two together, and we're going to put it up. Once that video goes up, that's going to be part of the video contest. We've been talking a lot about our airdrop bounty program. That's going to be $70,000 at current valuation worth of Neureal tokens that are going to go up into that bounty program. And it's going to be for doing just a bunch of different tasks that'll help the Neureal program, but we have something in there that I've never seen in any other airdrop or bounty program, which is that if you believe you have a unique skill that we have not yet mentioned that would help Neureal, that would specifically help us to spread and help us get to more places, you get to email us and let us know what that skill is, and then we can negotiate a fair rate for you using your skills towards the Neureal project. But it's also going to have a referral program, so if you've got folks out there that have been trying to get in and maybe they're U.S. citizens or just haven't had the opportunity to get involved yet, this is the perfect way to get them involved, get them excited, and then give them some Neureal tokens so that later they can see the future, man. It's amazing, right? I mean, it's a ridiculous discount on such an unbelievable thing. I wanted to go over a few of the strategic partnerships that we're potentially forming out of Puerto Rico, and I want to make something very clear before I talk about this. All of the ones I'm about to talk about were projects. These aren't all the projects. These are just the ones that looked the most promising. Not all of them are. It's not a done deal. This is just that I have talked with either their CEO or their CTO, and we're definitely pursuing some relationships there. Susan O is one of those. She'd like to see how predictions could actually help her thing at MKR AI. Another one is Guardian Circle, guys. Guardian Circle is doing basically all EMS dispatching, and what they would like to do is use that live dispatching and in order to predictively tell ambulances and police cars where they're most going to be needed over the next little while, and then pre-dispatch them to those areas first so that they're staged correctly to be able to do the most good. Gosh, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. There's just a giant freaking pile of cards here. Like 90% of these. Swarm is another really good example. So Swarm is a AI-driven investment economy. where they're using AI to predict the likelihood that different ICOs will succeed. Swarm is very excited about what we're creating, because if we are able to make this work the way we know that it will work, it will outpace anything that they're doing, because they're only skinning the predicted cat one way. So like the Swarm's algorithms that they've developed and spent a lot of time and money on, those would only be considered one competitor on our network. I mean, it's a pretty exciting thing. Go ahead, Ethan.
Just want to really quickly add that it was really fun to be at the Swarm table and watch this guy skim our white paper and get kind of happy about it. It was really cool.
Their eyes lit up, and he goes, "Oh my gosh, I need to send this to my head of AI." So yeah, I followed back up with them. They've been very excited. I mean, as everybody, they've got questions about why the GitHub had a while that it was blank, but I don't know if this has ever been done on a live stream, so let me just say it. The reason that the GitHub was blank for a long time is that poor Will here only has so many hours in a day, and for a long time, Will was Neureal, and that was it. Will had every single responsibility that you could possibly imagine trying to bring this to fruition, and he's only got so much horsepower running up here. It's a considerable amount of horsepower comparatively, but it's only so much horsepower, and there's only so much that one guy can get done in a day. So Will had the code to a place where we had a working prototype, and there wasn't a whole lot of purpose in order to continue pushing on it until he had all these other things in place. And that's why he's brought together a team, and that's honestly it's one of the beautiful things about a decentralized project, right? Is that never truly dead until everybody in the whole world gives up on it, even into the future.
That's right.
So yeah, guys, this is happening. This is now. And we are screaming into our token generation event. And we really badly need your help over the next month, guys. We need to get this spread as far and wide as possible. If you haven't done so already, we need you guys to go and give us a like on Twitter, follow us on Twitter, give us a like on Facebook, make sure that you're connected in with those streams, make sure that you're in with our Telegram, and start talking to your friends about this, guys. And we're going to incentivize you to do that, right? Just like we talked about with KureCoin. How many people wanted to help KureCoin out from just the goodness of their heart in order to do folding? It was a very small percentage of people. I was in that percentage of people, but a very small percentage of people nonetheless. And I actually did it for selfish reasons, because I was trying to help cure Alzheimer's, because the thought of getting Alzheimer's scares the hell out of me. Yeah. So we're going to incentivize you guys to do this now. The bounty program is, we're literally just pegging over the wording right now and making sure that the integers are right, that we're not over-rewarding or under-rewarding. But this should be ready within the next few days, and then that's going to go live. Now, Will, you're going to have to help me. Are they hosting it on their own website, or is it going to be attached to ours?
I'm pretty sure I don't know.
Okay, so I'll find out, but stay attached to the announcements channel, because that's where it's going to get blasted out of. So if you're not there already, get in the announcement channel. Looking at you, 375 Neureal community members who are only in the one chat and not in the other, and have definitely hit mute by now so you don't see when important announcements come up. Get in that announcement channel. Let's do this, okay? Together we can really make this happen, guys. We desperately, we need you. We're only, Will, Jen, and I, we're only 3 people. We've got a couple of other design teams that's been around. We've got Preston. Preston's an amazing help, but there's only so much we can do, guys. This is where the decentralized nature of this comes in. We need you. With that, I think it's probably time to say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Hi, guys.
Bye, Preston.